Hello everyone and welcome to Core ALM's SAP workshop on Solution Manager. Our workshop today will show you how, we'll show you why should you use SAP Solution Manager and what's the value in it. So in the past year, we've been getting a lot of questions from our clients. It's like they're asking, why should I use SAP Solution Manager? And why is this push from SAP to use Solution Manager as a platform? Hence, we decided to start this year with this workshop topic, and we explain the value of SAP Solution Manager and how it offers rich capabilities to support your entire life cycle of your business and IT applications. So if this is your first time attending, we run these workshops for the SAP community, and if you're a regular, we really thank you for attending. I'd like to add that we run these workshops to give back to the SAP community, and that's part of our company culture. As such, we make this workshop interactive with polls to get feedback and learn how we can make it better for future workshops. We have a few polls throughout the workshop, so your participation is appreciated. All right, so moving on with the agenda. So we'll do a quick introduction to Core ALM if you're new to us, and then we'll go on to the first topic, which is the challenges in managing an IT environment, and then the introduction to Solution Manager, and then some highlights of what Solution Manager can do for you, followed by a Q&A session. So you may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we'll collect these and then address them at the end at the Q&A session. So you can submit your question by typing your questions in the questions pane in the control panel of the GoToWebinars interface. You can see a little orange arrow on the top right corner of your screen if it's hidden. So moving on to a bit about us. So we are a dedicated team of experts focused on digital transformation lifecycle within the SAP ecosystem, and have been a strong team of former SAP Solution Manager practice leads. So we're a recognized leader with a proven track record to deliver ALM solutions, and have been driving the adoption of SAP Solution Manager. We have worked with many SAP clients like Apple, Microsoft, Nike, Hershey, Harley-Davidson, and many others, and have been trusted to deliver results. Our main expertise is within the SAP Solution Manager, and this is what SAP Solution Manager does. So we cover all aspects of the Solution Manager platform, and here are some of the services and products that we offer. Adopting the next slide. So as you can see, we offer a holistic approach to the Application Lifecycle Management. We have the resources to deliver services in managing your application lifecycle. And with the push to HANA, we also help companies with HANA conversions and upgrades. And moving on to the next slide. Here's our awards and certifications. We are a SAP partner and certified in run SAP implementations. So moving on to our first poll question, we just want to ask, have you upgraded to Solution Manager 7.2, or have you had any plans to use Solution Manager 7.2? So you can just answer and we share with the crowd to see where we are. So we really appreciate if you take your time to just answer this quick question. Just going to give a few more seconds in case you miss it. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and share the results. So it seems like half of our attendees have upgraded, and there's still some of them that are planning to upgrade or don't use Solution Manager extensively to know. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce today's presenter. I have Donik Oladimi, a Senior Solution Manager, Practice Lead, and Experienced Consultant with Core ALM.
Okay, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Ivan, for the introduction. So what we're going to be talking about today is really going through some of the tools that SAP has developed, and as Ivan mentioned, is a lot of our customers might not be aware of some of the latest developments around Solution Manager and its capabilities, the improvements that have been made, and just capabilities of the tools and integration in general. So with that said, we are all aware of the challenges that we deal with on a daily basis as far as managing the IT environment. So the goal is for you to stay agile, competitive, but there's a lot of requirements coming from the business, and on top of the new functions that you are responsible for, you're also responsible for keeping the systems running, utilizing as much of the new technologies as possible. So having to do all these, it's quite difficult and quite challenging. And as a matter of fact, based on some studies or some surveys that have been accomplished by different organizations, we can see that a lot of the organizations keep about 72% of the time trying to keep the lights on and having very little room to focus on driving business innovation. So the goal of for SAP and a lot of companies out there is to help you really tip the scales and give you some of the time back from keeping the lights on by automating certain processes, by being proactive, and allow you to focus more on business innovation. And as we can see, more than 50% of the CIOs really cannot respond in a timely manner to digital opportunities that are out there. Now, how do you build that foundation for innovation? And really, when you look at it, the foundation is there are really three things. You need to create confidence from transforming operations to be proactive, increase the solution transparency, availability, and performance, and then by showing increased business satisfaction and reduced disruption. Also by delivering capabilities, by building lean environments, collaborative requirements to deploy, and that's probably the biggest problem is when you go through the cycle from requirements to deployment and then to operations. So really having tools that allows you to deliver those capabilities is very important. And then retaining accountability by taking ownership of building and running the solutions, and then creating consistency between the building and running and how your operations run by creating consistency and really building the collaboration between and relationship between the teams. So from SAP's perspective and the way SAP is looking at it, and they have made quite a bit of an investment into the Solution Manager tool, which some of you might use, a lot of you might use it today, but especially on 7.1 version, you might have been using it just to aid you during the system upgrade, just to get the download media and whatnot, to do a calculation, but there's a lot more to Solution Manager. And SAP has positioned it, has invested a lot in this tool for it to be the single source of truth. So as we can see here, we are able with Solution Managers to really deliver the capabilities, build the confidence within the team, and become accountable for all of these for managing your solutions. So with that said, we can see that Solution Manager is the core component of the platform, or what some people call it is the ERP for IT. And it's a tool which we'll look into today, and how, with using capabilities like build SAP like a factory and run SAP like a factory, it gives you visibility and control from the beginning, from the requirements to deployment and to operations, and have those repeatable processes, reusable processes, some automation built in to make to achieve those goals and having a smoother operation. Taking a look at it from different research again, and looking at certain charts, we can see that SAP is rated first in IT operations and service management. And most importantly is to realize that this platform it's available to you at no additional cost, because if you're in active maintenance contract, you have the rights to use the Solution Manager capabilities. So there's no additional licensing cost involved. And as we can see, pretty much everywhere we read SAP, it's almost certain that you'll hear the word HANA associated with it. So Solution Manager has has been pushed in the same route and down the same path. So Solution Manager 7.2, which is the current version, adopts SAP HANA. So what it will allow you to do is really run Solution Manager on HANA. And again, the HANA license for running Solution Manager, it's already included in your maintenance contract. So there's no additional database licensing cost associated with that. That's going to be particularly useful for you if you're thinking to go to HANA on S4 or other business suite or other applications. And this would be a good gateway into the HANA world to get your teams trained and figure out, what HANA is about. Leverage, some of the technologies, take advantage of the performance improvements and whatnot. So that's also a big change, from SAP's direction, at least to include the licensing cost. The other thing with Solution Manager 7.2, the new version, is that the Fiori user interface has been introduced. So if you have S4 and other newer SAP applications, the Fiori is really the new launchpad where you get the tiles. And from here on out, you can navigate to different functionalities that are available in Solution Manager. So the 10 core functional areas of Solution Manager are listed out here, and these are the ones that we're going to be discussing today, as far as what's available, what comes available with the tool, and the integration from one component to another, how one tool feeds another tool to really give you full transparency, be able to have control and audit capabilities and the reporting capabilities of everything that has happened. So we can see from project to portfolio to request to fulfill, depending on tool which swim lane it falls under. But these are the core functional areas. Now, what I want to mention is that today's webinar is more of an introduction, so we will be touching on each of these areas just slightly, but just to kind of give you an idea of what the tool is designed to do and how it can really help you. But we, as 2018 moves along, we will be hosting webinars in each of these specific areas. So we will have a full one-hour session in one topic. Some topics might require 2 or 3 different sessions. So stay tuned as we will have more updates. But this is kind of introducing you to all of these capabilities. So the first capability we're going to talk about today is the process management. And with process management, what SAP is trying to do and what it has tried to do is really provide a tool to the end user or to the business to be able to manage your process from an end-to-end perspective. What that means is provide you a web-based tool where you can document your business processes, a tool where you can inventory all of your assets, whether it's documentation, whether it's test cases, whether it's executables, interfaces. We're talking functional specs, design specs, any documents that are related. So physical Word documents or Excels or whatever you might have, you would be able to document them in this tool in a hierarchical view based on how your business processes are designed. So it's a very flexible tool. We will have a session on this particular functionality where we will go in depth and show you pretty much all the capabilities and the flexibility that it has. But it's really a tool, a central tool for you to store your documentation. So instead of having certain aspects of your documentation in Visio, certain things in SharePoint, in shared drives in multiple locations, here you would be able to consolidate everything into one place and then have change management tied into it, testing, and all these other building blocks that we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes. From a solution documentation perspective, what this also allows you to do is inventory your executables. So you can build your end-to-end processes, and this process might span across the company, like an order to cash. It might touch different systems. It might touch different business areas. So you will be able to model the businesses in such way and organize them in such way, and then attach pretty much every function module, every piece of code that you run to those nodes. And there's other things that we can do, which we'll talk about later on, which will help you to get into visibility into it, whether it's from change impact analysis or managing changes and promoting changes through the environment. Another cool feature is the capability of having libraries, which are sort of your containers that hold pretty much all of your assets. And then when you build the end-to-end processes, you will be able to reference those assets. So if you have a transaction code, you don't have to define it in 10 different places if it's being used in 10 different places, but you can just reference it. So if you perform any update or you update a text or anything about it, the changes will be reflected across the board. So stay tuned. We will have an in-depth webinar in this functionality. And as we mentioned, the library, you'll be able to really build your end-to-end process, as you can see across the top here, and then using these puzzle pieces, if you will, from an interface library, process step library, executable library, you can build your end-to-end process. And again, this could span multiple business areas, or this could span multiple systems, whether they are SAP or non-SAP. So that's the beauty here. And last but not least, is we have the BPMN process model, which is a modeling tool integrated into the Solution Manager 7.2 tool or the platform, which allows you to model your business processes. So you can have swim lanes, decision trees, decision points, and pretty much attach all of your systems. But the advantage here is that all of these objects that you're going to add here are not going to be just a box, a representation of an ERP system, for example, just as a box, but it will be technically tied to a system, to your QA system, to your production system, and whatnot. And then having that connectivity, you'll be able to build on top of it, whether it's business process monitoring and other things that we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes. So essentially, as we mentioned earlier, to recap, this could be your single source of truth, where you have one copy of all of your business processes, including all the artifacts, everything about them in one place, and everything accessible through the web. So the tool, it's pretty much except some administrative tasks and maybe the basis tasks would still require GUI for some things, but majority of end user from the business side, everything can be accessed through the web using SAP UI5, HTML5. Therefore, a lot of the issues have been eliminated as far as browser compatibility, requirements on different flash technologies to be able to display these items. So this is a pretty big step forward from a technology perspective from SAP, and how much they've invested in this tool to make it easier, much easier to consume. The next tool that we're going to look into is the test suite. And what a test suite is really, it's a complete testing platform. And when we talk about the complete testing platform, the goal is to have to be able to store your test cases, whether it's manual or automated, and we'll talk about those. Perform change impact analysis, create test scenarios, execute tests, assign defects, or create defects based out of those, execute the repairs, come back and re-execute those tests, and then close those tests. So from that perspective, it's an end-to-end tool where you can take from requirements, you go through the build phase, and then on the testing, you'll be able to test pretty much any of those scenarios. And this tool can be used for SAP or non-SAP solutions, especially when it comes to manual testing. And then integration also is available, and that's one of the things that SAP is also doing. It's opening up Solution Manager a lot more, creating a lot more APIs to allow you to integrate to third-party tools that you might already have. So if you have invested heavily in a specific tool in terms of automation, we will be able to help you and integrate that with Solution Manager, so you can pass the information back and forth without having to redo and reconfigure a lot of those. Now, when we take a look at from a capabilities perspective, excuse me. I apologize. So when we look at from a capabilities perspective, we can start with test cases, so we can perform manual testing, we can perform automated testing, and we're going to have multiple sessions on this particular topic because there are a lot of moving parts here and a lot of things that you can take advantage of. Therefore, we're going to spend a lot of time here in the upcoming weeks and working with you and explaining how these things come together. But really, in a nutshell, you're going to have test plan management, so you can create test plans, packages, sequences. You can assign testers, groups of testers you can assign. Notifications would be available. When you set up sequencing, when one user is done performing their test and the next person's turn comes, the system would notify them automatically to say that now it's your turn to execute this test. So really, a lot of those capabilities are there that were not there before are available. As we mentioned, from a test execution perspective, we have the manual test execution, automated test execution, and as a result of those test executions, we're going to have defects. So there's a full-blown defect management process built in where you can go through the defect to fix whether it's the code or fix the test script or whatnot until you achieve closure of that particular test. And then the analytics tool is pretty powerful as well, where it gives you all sorts of reporting out of the box. There's also different reports that can be built on top of it, but really gap reports, status reports, detailed reports about where you are in testing for different projects. So you could have multiple test cycles going on, maybe in parallel, different systems. So you can run very detailed reports about where you are for each of those. And you also have the dashboards, live dashboards representing the situation the way it is right now. So that's very beneficial. In addition to that, as we move further down, we have the change impact analysis. This is a very powerful tool where once you have all the artifacts, the libraries, everything that we talked about, the previous capability, from a documentation perspective, you'll be able to run scope and effort analyzer or business process change analyzer, which will allow you to analyze a change before it goes into the system. So for example, you could have enhancement pack, support pack, a bundle of transports, a single transport, and you can compare it and say, what will the impact be if I import this SAP node, for example? And it'll tie everything together, will show you the objects that are impacted, but also the test cases that you need to run for that change that's coming into that you're thinking about introducing into the system. So it's really nice tool to show you end to end. If I input this, this is what I need to test. So then you're not over testing, you're not under testing, and you have proof, and you have the traceability to say that this change went in, here's what we needed to test, we tested it, you have all the screenshots, everything that the tool captures for you, and so that helps with the transparency that everybody authorized can see where you are in the process, what was done, and all it's encapsulated in one tool, so you don't have to integrate 5 different tools from 5 different vendors to make this work. And then the test automation framework, there are SAP tools like CBTA that provides that automation, or you can integrate with other external tools that you might already own, like HP UFT, Worksoft Certify, and there are others that can help you with different technologies, but all those can integrate with Solution Manager. The next topic we're going to focus on is the project management. So when we looked at project management, it's really made up of 2 different pieces. It's made up of the requirement management and project management piece. So with Solution Manager and its capabilities, you will be able to capture all the requirements that come in from the business, from IT, and then classify them to what kind of requirements they are. You can decide to go through analysis, approval, and then they could become changes on your system. They could become changes from a code change. They could become change from a business process change. So really, you can classify those, and once you get that stream going, this will tie into other tools that we're going to talk about, like change management, all the way through testing, and then all the way through operations at the end. But really, the goal is to provide a project planning and scheduling tool, resource and time management, dashboards and tracking of the progress, and then integration to cost controlling. So that's another feature that once you identify the resources that are going to work on the project, so requirements become a mini project. In that project, you enter resources. So if you have, you can pull the cost directly from your HR payroll system, for example, into Solution Manager. So you'll know exactly what the cost will be of executing this particular project. So all the tools would be available to you. And then here's where we're talking about the integration into the standard Solution Manager capabilities. So the requirements management module ties into project management. So anything that becomes a project, then there might be tasks that are related to change management, and then change management is related to process management. So really, you can track everything end to end, and then have it documented end to end. Also, I forgot to mention that there is integration with Microsoft Project and other project tools that you might use today. So you could have bidirectional communication and feed Solution Manager data directly from your desktop. The next one is the business process operations, and what the business process operations is really, a lot of times we'll have issues from an IT perspective or from a technical perspective where a business process stalls. You might have problems at the business layer with certain data or whatnot, and then your business processes cannot execute end to end. And there's always finger pointing. What happened? Where did it happen? So with business process operations, it's really you bring the two together. So you build a process where you monitor a process from a technical perspective, from a functional perspective, and you can proactively monitor it. You can generate alerts, notifications, and this will be another session that we'll talk about, but we'll give you some examples here of what it looks like. So if you recall on the bottom left here, we talked about the business process model, for example. We have start event, the business process goes through several steps and several systems. Now that we have modeling in place, we can build monitoring on top of it. So remember that I mentioned the box. It's not just a box, but it's tied to a system. Now we can monitor certain things about it. And across the top here, we see different categories. So we can monitor throughput. We can monitor availability. We can monitor exceptions, performance. Many, many different things we can monitor about that particular system and put it together in an order to cash format, for example, and monitor all the steps in between. And hopefully you will get notified before anything goes wrong. So digging in a little bit deeper here, just as an example, here we can look at outstanding days sales, and we can see different categories. Again, there are about 1,000 KPIs that are available out of the box from SAP. So about 1,000 different ways you can monitor, 1,000 different things you can monitor about a business process. You can put all sorts of filters, but you can see the level of detail that you can get into, and then you can quantify that. Say if I have 5 orders that are stuck in specific process, well, what is their value? So you can translate that into how much, from a dollar perspective or euro perspective in this case. This is another way of viewing these, and there are different steps that you can go to. Once you identify an error, you can go to analysis, IT alignment, figure out what you're going to do about it. So this is part of the business process improvement, to where you go through the steps of making sure that this doesn't happen again, or try and find out what you can do so that such scenario is not, you don't come across it again. Again, that's another area that we're going to have a webinar on and focus on that in depth. The next one is application operations, which is more the technical, the ability to monitor the system from a technical perspective. So this is really a tool that allows you to, or set of tools actually, that allow you to monitor the systems from different perspectives, whether it's from the infrastructure perspective, so from the OS database, and then going into the SAP system itself, monitoring multiple things from performance, exceptions, and multitude of things that you can monitor. And then, but also there are things that you can monitor in terms of interfaces between systems, PI monitoring, BW, HANA specific. You can monitor, end user experience, or like from the front end perspective, you can monitor different things. So there's really a tool that, or a set of tools that really give you a lot of flexibility in terms of monitoring. Now, the one thing to realize here from a technical monitoring perspective, SAP does not only monitor SAP, but we have the capability of monitoring SAP, non-SAP systems. There's numerous things that we can do, but it's also on-premise and cloud. So you can see here, this slide is from, it's about 3 months old, 3 or 4 months old. So some of these things might have changed, but at least you can see that there's a lot of supportability for cloud, SaaS-based solutions, or all sorts of solutions that are there available in the cloud from SAP, from third parties. So you can monitor all these different things. But the goal is, and SAP is actively working in pretty much delivering all sorts of capability to monitor all these solutions, whether they're on cloud, whether in hybrid, completely on-premise. So it really depends. But the tools are flexible to monitor all those tools. The next one is the data volume management. The goal here is to have a tool that takes an in-depth look at your data. So the goal is to look at the data and then try and figure out the age of the data, the data distribution, and then try to identify areas where you can save certain things. Where, for example, archiving is a big thing. So this tool will help you identify where the archiving objects, for example. It will not archive the data for you, but at least it helps you in identifying which are the good candidates for archiving. So it'll make your job a lot easier to plug into the tool that's going to do the archiving. And then figuring out what data is not being used. So sometimes some customers move data to different tier of storage, different tier of disk, because the cost is different. So it'll help you identify those. But really, in a nutshell, is we need to be able to monitor, proactively monitor the data, notify us when certain thresholds are breached. You can set all sorts of metrics, thresholds. You can monitor several things. You can analyze those reports. You can run scenarios. You can have optimization scenarios, or you can run scenarios to say, what if I reduce my data by so much, over the last year? You attach a cost to it per gigabyte or whatnot, and it'll run different simulation scenarios to show you that what if scenario, it's gonna result in this much savings and whatnot. There are other things like, what if I migrate to HANA as is? What can I, what is it gonna look like in HANA? So it'll run those simulations, it'll analyze the data, and it'll tell you what your size is gonna be in once you migrate to HANA. Your data distribution, the age of your data, how often it's accessed. So all sorts of granular details are available with the data volume management tool. And of course, the reporting features, you can automate those reports to be generated. The next topic we're going to look into is the change control management. In the change control management, there are several things involved when we talk about the change, controlling a change. So you have requirements coming in. Those requirements become change, and they could be a change, to change on the system from a coding perspective, or it could be a configuration change. It could be a change of, for example, replacing a printer or replacing some network device. So if you want to, you can track it end to end. So you can, what the tool provides you is the ability to request a change, go have a change document, which will have workflow attached to it, highly customizable. Pretty much we'll be able to customize the process in Solman or Solution Manager to match your current process as you do it in your organization, and with a lot of complexity if needed. So you can go through the approval change. The result is that you have everybody's buy-in that you need to have sign off. But you have all the tracking, and every step is captured, every approval is captured, which really helps you when you go through the auditing process. You will have, now the data is not all over spreadsheets and whatnot, but everything is documented step by step. Depending on your compliance, SOX compliance and whatnot, you can easily document every change that went into the system, from approval to importing, and then, going from that, going into change cycles. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. For example, the release management. You could have different release cycles, different change cycles. You can, it's a tool that helps you bundle transports for a specific project and track them in that way. So you could have like a release cycle, which is a technical container and model for the release content. With enhanced CTS, you will have the capability to decouple transports. So if you move a bunch of changes to QA, and you decide that one of those transports should not move to production, there's ways where you can reassign that to back-end development and say, okay, this goes with my next cycle. I want this particular change to move at a later time. You have all that flexibility, besides tracking, reporting. You can see, where all the transports are, when they were imported, sequencing of transports within one system. However, you can also set sequencing of transports between systems. So if you have dependency between an ECC and a BW transport, you can set those the sequencing in that layer. And then we'll talk about the other functionalities for non-SAP. But you can control all of your SAP S/4HANA transports, the cloud platform, mobile platform like Hybris, e-commerce suite, and whatnot. The other piece that's important here is that a lot of customers are going into a permanent 5-system landscape or an M+1, M+2 landscape. And a lot of times, in a dual development environment, a lot of things have to be rekeyed. You configure and, you key the changes into one system and then you go into the other. The beauty here is that with the use of the tool, we can do retrofit. We can do dual maintenance. We can do cross-system object locking. So, things that are being touched in Dev or Dev 2, for example, when somebody tries to touch it in Dev 1, it's not going to allow them to. And then retrofitting those changes, downgrade protection. And earlier we mentioned is moving changes of ABAP and non-ABAP. So with with a framework like the CTS Plus, what it allows us to do is move changes, non-ABAP changes. So for example, if you have PI or if you have PO now, portal, and other non-ABAP changes, you can streamline everything. You can synchronize everything and move them as needed. So the tool is highly customizable. This is another topic that will be discussed in depth in multiple session webinars that we will be hosting in the coming weeks and months. Then we have the custom code management piece, and the custom code management piece is really it's a tool that has different categories. So you have the visibility category, the optimization category, and what this means is it's a tool that it allows you to analyze your custom code. Now there are a lot of tools available within custom code management. What this allows you to do is really get visibility into how much code you have, get visibility into how much custom code that I have, what percentage of it am I using, what is the quality of that code, is there a standard SAP code that's been released since I've implemented this custom code. So it gives you an opportunity to decommission custom code you want to avoid. And all of these, especially for those of you who are going down the HANA journey, if you're not doing that new implementation, if you're going through migration to HANA, your number one concern is going to be custom code and realizing and optimizing your custom code as you move to HANA. So this is a tool that's definitely going to give you a lot of visibility and give you the tools for you to start analyzing and over time manage your code, retire as much of the code as you can. The other thing is when you run change impact analysis that we mentioned for the test suite, is that if you have a transport coming in and it changes some standard SAP code, for example, so you would not think that, oh, my custom codes might not be impacted. Well, the tool is going to figure out that there is a reference in a custom code to a standard module, which is changing. So it's going to bring you the attention to you to say that this is being modified, or something's changing about it where you're going to end up with a syntax error. So, that visibility really gives you in-depth transparency and realizing what the problems are. And looking at some of the studies, or based on some of the analysis and studies that SAP has done, is, on average, between 15 and 20,000 objects are modified or are customs in customer environments. 65% of the custom code has not been used, or objects have not been used in the last few months, or 60% of all custom code objects contain code inspection messages. What it means is that the quality check did not pass. There might be things that, structures, the way things are coded are not correct per the SAP standard. So you compare it to those, and then it flags those. So these are some of the numbers that SAP has found, in different customer environments that, upon analysis. And here, as we mentioned, the goal is try and remove the custom code if it's not needed, if you're not using it. If there's standard code available for the same functionality, try and remove it. Or maybe try to avoid creating that custom code to begin with. There are tools that will help you set up the governance, the vetting process to figure out whether you really need that. Or replacing that code with standard. And then once you have it all in place, it's really make sure that you're using and leveraging the code, and it's not just sitting there and it's being impacted every time you do an upgrade and something happens. Well, you're not even using the code, so might as well remove it and decommission it. And this is the city model. Really is a different representation of all different data points that are available, and the goal here is to turn build your own green city. So to turn as many of these to green as possible to satisfy all different areas. But this is one of the graphs that the tool builds for you, just to kind of show you where all the systems are custom objects in all different areas and different metrics about those systems in the custom code. And last but not least is we have the landscape management. And for those of you that have been involved in an upgrade in 7.1, an upgrade of ECC, enhancement pack, support pack, one of the most painful processes is using the maintenance optimizer, which is a tool to help you generate the stack files, figuring out the product system, definition of the systems. That has been a very painful process. There are many tools involved, definitions. We had SMSY in the past, LMDB, and all these tools that just made it very difficult. And sometimes you would spend more time maintenance optimizer, than the upgrade itself, just trying to get this tool to work. So what SAP has done is with 7.2 has moved to Maintenance Planner. This is a cloud-based solution from SAP where all the data that's collected, so all your systems are connected to Solution Manager, it's uploaded to Maintenance Planner, and it's much more streamlined as far as defining, generating, going through the upgrade process, generating the stack files for support pack, enhancement pack, and whatnot. And there's an integration between Solution Manager and Maintenance Planner, so this aspect will make your life a lot easier. And as we can see here, Maintenance Optimizer does not exist anymore. The product systems and Maintenance Optimizer are replaced. And you do the definition in the Maintenance Planner on the cloud. So that, at least our experience has been that this is very useful. It's been a very useful tool, and we can go through that process much quicker. Now, to recap very quickly, as we've reached almost the end here of the presentation, to recap is really that Solution Manager 7.2 with the upgraded version 7.2 and these 10 core functional areas really provide you the tool set that will make your life a lot easier to be able to manage your applications, or going through the Application Lifecycle Management. Chances are that you perform all of these steps. Might be across different tools, different ways of doing it, But this is a platform that it has all the tool sets, all the tools built in, and as we saw earlier, it's top-ranked tool compared to others that gives you that full control, visibility, integration, transparency from getting, from point A to Z and successfully managing your environment. Now, a couple of words about upgrade to 7.2. I noticed that several of you have not upgraded during the earlier the poll question. But before we get to that, Ivan, you want to trigger? We had one more question just to kind of see where everybody is as far as how you feel like these capabilities, which of these capabilities that we described is most valuable to you. You could just take a minute to answer those questions, and we'll reach the Q&A shortly. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much for your responses. So for those of you that have not upgraded, or you don't necessarily have to upgrade, you can do a net new installation of 7.2. But if you're using Solution Manager 7.1, it's important to realize that the mainstream maintenance for Solution Manager 7.1 has ended in 2017. So the end of 2017 was the end of the road for 7.1. And we're talking about the standard maintenance, and we'll talk about what your options are if you want to remain in 7.1. The recommendation is to upgrade to 7.2, which is the latest and greatest, and we will also have a webinar on the upgrade, and I believe our next webinar will be around the upgrades, where we will be talking in detail about what to expect when you upgrade, features, good things, from a technical perspective, what to expect from functional perspective, difficulty, and see if we can help you with your upgrade. But please realize that we're still finding out that a lot of people do not know and do not realize that the support has ended. We mentioned earlier, and we'll talk about this on the next webinar, it's really what new is. Really, you get a lot of new functionalities. User experience has been upgraded tremendously. All Fiori HTML5 web-based functionality available over the web interface. Obviously, upgrading to the latest technology, and then upgrade to the new maintenance interval, which will go on till 2025. So, for customer-specific maintenance, so in case you are on 7.1 and you're going to remain on 7.1 moving forward, please realize that there is a note that you can look and see what the limitations are. If you're going to get support from SAP on existing problems that SAP is aware of, but there's going to be very, very limited fixes for anything new that's discovered, any bugs or anything. The first thing SAP is going to do is recommend that you move to or upgrade to version 7.2. Please let us know if you have any questions regarding these, regarding the upgrades. We have done numerous upgrades. Our team has executed multiple upgrades this last year, the past year and a half actually, and we can help you in executing it in a very quick manner. I've seen some quotes out there, or at least I've heard of some timelines that are very long, but we'll be able to quickly help you to get to the 7.2 version. And I believe this is the last poll question. And I want to thank you for your attention. And I'm going to hand it over to Ivan to see if there are any questions from today's session. So thank you very much for your attention.
All right, thank you, Dominic. Yes, we do have some questions. And as Dominic mentioned, so if you do need help with an upgrade or implementation of Solution Manager, you can just click on the poll question and just say yes or maybe, and then we'll just contact you after the webinar. So we'll now be going through the questions submitted today during the presentation. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. So our first question is from Siddhar, and his question is, our company uses ServiceNow and HP ALM for our systems company-wide. Is there a way to integrate Solution Manager into ServiceNow and HP ALM for SAP operational support?
Absolutely, yeah. There's different ways. I mean, bottom line is yes and yes. Yeah, we will be able to integrate with ServiceNow, and that's a growing trend that we're seeing a lot of customers using ServiceNow for ITSM, and then we can help you with the integration, and also integration, from different tools perspective. So from change management, from testing, the HP ALM integration as well. We can help you with that, where you can pass the results back and forth. So absolutely, and it's something that we've executed multiple times successfully. So yeah, those are possible, and if interested, we could help you with those. Thank you, Ivan.
Sounds good. I hope that answers your question, Siddhar. So I do have a few questions from a few of the attendees asking if this slide deck will be available to the attendees. Yes, it will be. There will be a recording, and my team will be sending it out after this workshop. So moving on to the next question, I have a question from Alan. We run SAP in a validated environment. Is there anything missing from Solution Manager for supporting our Z1 CFR requirements?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so everybody's interpretation of validation, every company, I mean, at least based on what we've seen, different companies have different requirements. The V model in general, it's supported and covered, but it really depends on your interpretation and your implementation of the validation. However, some of the basics are covered in terms of if you need digital signature for documentation. For example, you can restrict the documentation so it cannot be changed or promoted unless you have a change request. In this case, if you leverage Charm, for example, you could go through the approval to have a document edited. And then once it's edited, you can add digital signature to prove that that person, signs off, instead of you printing it out, taking it for physical signature and scanning it back in. So it's a combination of tools that are available in Solution Manager that will fulfill some of those, the requirements from a validated environment. So hopefully that answers your questions. And we would need to probably sit down and talk into a little bit more details as far as your requirements, and we'll be able to map, things that are available out of the box. However, there's some possibility to even extend beyond what's out of the box to be able to meet your requirements. Hopefully that helps you with the question. Thanks for the question.
All right, Alan. Yeah, Alan, if that answers your question or if you follow up, feel free to ask. I have another question here from Brent. Can this be used to manage non-SAP applications?
Can this be used to? Okay, so to manage non-SAP application, yeah, at different levels. For example, if you want to manage a change for a non-SAP system, you can manage the approval process. So you can go through the approval process for that particular change. Now, depending on the technology of that system, we might be able to automate the deployment of those changes, like a transport or deploying a patch or whatnot, or that might have to be a manual process. For example, from a technical monitoring perspective, we will be able to monitor the host, the database, and certain aspects of that application, depending, again, what application it is. If it's a .NET application, there's a lot more flexibility into monitoring. If it's a Java, and just depends on the technology. But bottom line is a lot of things can be managed. We'll just have to get into more details as what technology it is and what you want to manage about it, and we'll be able to map it and say what's out of the box and what would not be possible. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I see that Brad has been helped by my team. Anyways, here's a few follow-up questions, and I see that it's been replies to that. Moving on to the next question, I have a question here from Crystal. I have heard a lot of talk about Solution Manager. Heard a lot of talk about Solution Manager's tool for automated testing. Do you have many companies using it?
Well, it's kind of difficult. I don't know what number I would call many. As far as qualifying as many, but we are noticing a lot. I mean, we personally have helped, or as a company, we've helped several customers go through the automation process, introducing the automation tool, automating pretty much one programs, for example, for a specific program, all of their test cases. Some places we've done 20, 30%, but customers are continuously growing and adding new test cases to the system. We're automating them. So definitely it's a growing trend. We're realizing that there has been automation in the past with other tools. We're seeing customers moving into the test suite from Solution Manager because it could be because of cost. Because with Solution Manager there's no additional licensing costs from an automation and running those tools. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of movement, at least to automate the processes of highest value, or processes that do take the longest to execute and depend on multiple teams. That seems to be the trend where those are being automated first. So we've had scenarios where a process took almost 3 weeks, but 2 good weeks, and between 5 different teams, 5 different handovers that happened. And with automation, we were able to do that in 30, 40 minutes without, with the tool handling everything, including data generation. So we'll be able to discuss in more detail if you're interested. We can get in touch and share with you, our success stories and, what we're seeing out there. So thank you for the question.
All right, thank you. So I have another question here from Lutz. Is HANA on Solman 7.2 definitely included for free? Our SAP License Manager told us that we still need to purchase a HANA license according to price list, even if SAP Solution Manager would be the only system with a HANA database.
So I'm not sure who you're referring to as the price manager. I'm assuming it's a role in SAP. Every SAP documentation that I have seen that says the usage right for Solution Manager, there's no additional licensing cost with customers that have active support. So if you have active support, there you should not have to pay. And I'll try and find the SAP note that describes that, but I've seen it in multiple places, and that is statement from SAP. So we can get in touch and we can, work with you, and we can see if we can put you in touch with the team that's responsible for Solution Manager, with the product owners, and hopefully they'll be able to help you.
Yeah, I think his question is HANA, not Solution Manager. So is HANA on Solution Manager 7.2 definitely include for free?
Yeah. So yeah, if you run a HANA database that's hosting the Solution Manager system and Solution Manager system only, you do not have to pay additional HANA license. The hardware, it's a different story. The hardware you have to purchase and worry about that. But the HANA license for Solution Manager usage, if you're running Solman on HANA, there's no additional licensing cost. It's part of your maintenance agreement. Now on the because now HANA 2.0 is supported for Solution Manager as well. You can do multiple database containers, so you should not throw an ERP system on that same database, because then you would need a license. But if it's dedicated for Solution Manager only, that license you don't have to pay for it. So.
Yeah, maybe I misheard you, but yeah, I hope that answers your question. So we're coming to the top of the hour, and I do have a few more questions. And I guess we will get to those questions offline. We just email you, or if you have a number, we'll call you to answer those questions. So I want to thank your presence here today. It really means a lot to us, and I want to thank Donick for his time and his great presentation again. So on behalf of the Core ALM team and everyone here, thanks and have a great weekend ahead.
Yep, thank you very much. Stay warm, and thanks for your participation. See you in future webinar.
Yeah, and yes, our next webinar is already up on our website, so it's called alm.com/webinars. You can sign up for the next webinar. It's on about upgrading to Solution Manager 7.2. Be interested of those half the team, half the attendees here that have not upgraded yet. All right, thank you again, and have a great weekend.